What if pain isn't the problem, but actually the pathway back to you? You're listening to The Leadership Wound, From Pain to Permission. I'm Amanda Rohr, your host and founder of Authentically You, coaching for embodied spiritual living and leading. This is where we get honest about the real cost of leadership, the burnout, the pretending, the rejection, and the return to your authentic self. Because this isn't about performance, it's about permission. Welcome to the leader you've always been.
And so here's your invitation today. If you've been feeling exhaustion from second guessing yourself, always thinking about what other people think of you, if you're tired of bending your boundaries just to be accepted, if you felt the cost of external validation draining your energy, your peace, your presence, this is the time to begin your detox. Don't wait another moment. I want you to go right over to my website, authenticleadershipcollective.com, and schedule a free call. Welcome back to The Leadership Wound. I'm Amanda Rohr, your host and founder of Authentically You, coaching for spiritually embodied living and leading. I'm so excited to bring this message to you today. We're in the middle of a series called The Validation Trap. In part 1, we pulled back the curtain to see how external validation quickly drives our choices. And in part 2, we looked at impact, why affirmation feels good in the moment, and why silence stings, and how both shape our leadership. And today, in part 3, we're going to name the hidden cost of external validation. And we're going to talk about how to begin a detox that sets you free. Because here's the truth. Validation looks harmless on the surface at first, but the longer you chase it, the more it drains your body, your joy, your leadership presence. And unless you step into a different rhythm, it will keep costing you more than you realize. So let's get practical right at the start. External validation doesn't just show up in those big moments, like the stage or the meeting or the evaluation. It shows up in the tiny everyday ways that we measure ourselves by someone else's reaction. Perhaps you send an email and keep checking to see if they responded quickly. Or you're at the table with several people and immediately you're scanning the faces around the table as you speak to see if there's any nods of recognition to what you said. You share an idea with a friend and then you hold your breath, hoping they'll say, "That's great. I wish I came up with that idea." Or you post something on social media and refresh the app 5 times to check for likes. Yes, I'm guilty of that. Or maybe you replay conversations in your head. This is a definite go-to for me for external validation. Replaying conversations, wondering if you came across okay, if what you said was misunderstood, or if they liked what you said. Those are all examples of external validation. It's not just the applause. It's the nod, the quick text, the smile, the reassurance that tells you you're fine, you're good, you did or said the right thing. And when those signals don't come, we scramble, we question ourselves, we bend and we doubt ourselves. Most of the time, we don't even know this is happening. We don't even realize it because it's so unconscious. It's so baked into our daily rhythms that it feels normal to us. But the hidden cost, it's steep because every time you look outside of yourself for your worth, for approval, for affirmation, what you're doing is reinforcing the lie that your value depends on someone else's reaction, or that knowing if you did or said the right thing depends on what someone else says. The trap, the quote-unquote enough that we're chasing, it always moves. That's the trap. The nod might come today, but tomorrow you'll need it again. The quick text, it'll feel good in the moment until the next moment of silence when someone doesn't respond. The like on your post will give you a hit of relief until the next one doesn't land for someone. And so what you do is you push harder, you overwork, you say yes when you really want to say no, and you blur your boundaries just to prove you belong. And in the process, you lose yourself. I know this is true because I've lived it. I've known the nights of replaying the conversation, wondering if I disappointed someone, wondering how people perceive me. I've carried the weight of everyone else's expectations as if their peace depends on me. At first, it looks like strong leadership, but underneath, it's just depletion. Research shows that it isn't just emotional, it's psychological. Perfectionism is often less about excellence and more about us approval seeking. It's linked to things like chronic stress, anxiety, depression. Cortisol, the stress hormone, spikes when you live in constant overfunctioning. Your body literally is breaking down under the weight of trying to please everyone. Leadership studies show that burnout doesn't only come from work overload. It comes from emotional labor, the constant energy it takes to manage how others see you. Chasing validation is like running on fumes, and your body, your relationships, and your leadership eventually are the ones who pay the price. There was a season in my life when I said yes to everything, every need, every request, every opportunity to prove myself. I thought, this is what strong leaders do. But my calendar was filling up to the point of full, and my soul was beginning to be empty. And when I finally slowed down, I saw it. I was chasing validation like it was my oxygen. But no matter how much I inhaled, it was never enough. The more I overfunctioned, the more I was beginning to erase myself. Maybe you've been there too. Here's why this all matters. When you live for validation, people may follow your performance, but they never meet you in your presence, who you truly are. They applaud what you're doing, but they never encounter the depth of who you are. See, authentic influence doesn't come from trying to be everything to everyone or managing people's perceptions. It comes from being grounded in your true self, even when everyone else isn't approving. So how do you begin this detox? How do you get out of the validation trap? Well, it's not by quitting cold turkey, but by practicing new rhythms that retrain your nervous system, your mind, and your thoughts, and give you back your voice. Here are some practical steps for this week. The first is limit approval-seeking statements. Notice how often you end a sentence with, "Does that make sense?" or "Is that okay? Do you understand what I'm saying?" Instead, practice letting your words stand alone. You can ask yourself a reflection question like this: what happens internally within me if I don't rush in to check with people if what I said or did was okay? The second is experiment with silence instead of defending yourself. I know silence seems scary. When someone doesn't respond the way you had hoped, we all rush in to try to defend and explain ourselves. But notice the urge to over-explain. And when you feel it, stop, pause, take a breath, and stay present with that feeling. Ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about their silence or the way they responded? And is it true? You'd be surprised at what we make people's silence or how they respond mean. Ask yourself, what is the story I'm telling myself? What am I making their silence mean? The third is practice saying no without explanation. No, N-O, is a full sentence. Try it once this week, even in a small way, and notice the freedom and energy it gives back to just say no without any explanation. A reflection question you can ask yourself is, what do I fear? What's the worst that will happen if I don't explain myself? We're notorious at feeling like we need to explain our no's. And lastly, redirect your focus. When you feel that itch for a desire for external reassurance, I want you to anchor yourself in the truth. Write down one inner statement that you can return to when you feel the desire welling up within you for someone else to validate what you said or what you did. You can return to statements like, God created me and I'm called. I know exactly what I need to say or do. I'm enough. I don't need other people's approval or permission to do XYZ. Practice redirecting your focus when you feel the desire or itch for external reassurance. These are just a couple of things that you can try out this week, and pay attention to the internal shifts that you're feeling and thinking about as you do these. I promise they're going to be uncomfortable in the beginning because every detox starts with a withdrawal. It's always that way. When you begin to detox from external validation, what you're doing is withdrawing from something that your body is used to. But I promise, on the other side of withdrawal is freedom. Stay with the uncomfortableness. Anything worth growing in is always worth being a little uncomfortable in the beginning. Freedom is on the other side, I promise. If you're like most leaders, you know this validation trap, but sustaining the change, remaining in the momentum of the detox, that's the hard part. Old patterns don't fall away just because we heard a podcast episode, and they're not meant to be done in isolation. Grab a friend, grab a coworker, find a coach who can help walk you through the detox. You're not meant to do it alone. That's why I created signature coaching packages like The Way of Metanoia. Metanoia literally means a change of mind, a shift in your mind. I help leaders shift their thought life through a rhythm of pause, return, and embody, so they can anchor in truth instead of chasing the elusive external validation. I also created coaching packages like the Leadership Wound Healing Path, where we name the wounds that drive these kinds of patterns of external validation. And we walk out a healing journey that can set you free to live and lead authentically. Because you don't have to keep living on this treadmill of, am I enough? What are people thinking? There's another way forward, a way to freedom and peace. And so here's your invitation today. If you've been feeling exhaustion from second guessing yourself, always thinking about what other people think of you, if you're tired of bending your boundaries just to be accepted, if you felt the cost of external validation draining your energy, your peace, your presence, this is the time to begin your detox. Don't wait another moment. You don't have to do it alone. I want you to go right over to my website, authenticleadershipcollective.com, and schedule a free call. In that call, we'll name what this trap is costing you. We'll clarify what really is at stake, and we'll begin to shape a personalized path forward into freedom, into peace. Because here's the truth, staying stuck in the cycle of this validation trap will keep costing you more and more until you make a decision to prioritize your health, your influence, and your joy. Stepping into authenticity will bring you back into freedom, into clarity, and into confidence. It's time to stop chasing enough and to begin the detox. Step into freedom and live authentically today. If this episode resonated with you, or you have friends or colleagues who could benefit from a little detox themselves, pass this along. It's my heart and passion to help leaders overcome the validation trap and step into freedom, because there's an alternative way to live, one filled with peace. Trust me, I've been on the other side of this validation trap, and now I'm living with more peace than I ever experienced before. Thanks for tuning in today to The Leadership Wound and into this series. This work is worth doing. It's worth sticking with, and I'm honored to walk with you. Until next time, until next episode when we conclude this series, lead like you.